This is Digital Voices with Bo Tiffany. Inspiring and providing real insight to our listeners with every story. Exploring deep stories behind every guest. Please welcome your host, Bo Tiffany.
Welcome back to another episode of Digital Voices. In this episode of the miniseries Epstein's Islands, we're going to focus on the relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and a couple of our presidents, former presidents. So let me just kind of recap a little bit of the facts as we've learned them over the various episodes of this miniseries. So Epstein bought his island in 1998, with the first victim reported in the U.S. Virgin Islands in 2001. So as I give you a little bit of the background for some of these presidential relationships, keep that in the back of your head and come to your own conclusions. Everybody's familiar with Bill Clinton, Jeffrey Epstein, and Donald Trump. So let's start with the earliest relationship that we know of, which seems to be Donald Trump, the 45th president of the United States. Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein first met in the early 1990s. They were introduced by Ghislaine Maxwell, a socialite who was a mutual acquaintance of both men. Maxwell was also a close associate of Epstein. In a 2002 interview with the New York Magazine, Donald Trump spoke highly of Jeffrey Epstein, called Epstein a terrific guy and a lot of fun to be with. Trump also stated that Epstein liked women on the younger side, but he did not specify what he meant by that. In addition to their personal relationship, Trump and Epstein had business connections. Epstein was a member of Trump's Mar-a-Lago Club in Palm Beach. He also attended several events hosted by Trump, including a calendar girl competition at the club in 1992. There have been allegations that Epstein was involved in the recruitment of underage girls for sexual exploitation at Trump's Mar-a-Lago Club. There have been allegations that Epstein was involved in the recruitment of underage girls for sexual exploitation at Trump's Mar-a-Lago Club. However, there's no evidence that Trump was aware of Epstein's activities at the time. After Epstein's arrest in 2019, Trump downplayed his relationship with Epstein. He stated that he had not spoken to Epstein in 15 years and that they had had a falling out. However, there's evidence that the two men remained in contact after that time. In a 2011 interview with the Daily Mail, Epstein's former girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, said that Epstein and Trump were still friends. She stated that Trump had been a guest at Epstein's private island in the Caribbean, which was a location where Epstein is alleged to have sexually exploited underage girls. There's no evidence to support Maxwell's claim, and Trump has denied ever visiting the island. In addition to the allegations of sexual exploitation, there have been claims that Epstein was involved in money laundering and other financial crimes. In 2019, federal prosecutors alleged that Epstein had been involved in a massive Ponzi scheme. There have even been suggestions that Trump was involved in a similar financial scheme and that he may have had business dealings with Epstein related to these activities. However, there is no concrete evidence to support these claims. Donald Trump has been accused of sexual misconduct by numerous women. Some of these allegations date back to the 1980s and 90s, while others have emerged more recently. The allegations range from sexual assault to unwanted touching and kissing. In October 2016, just weeks before the presidential election, a tape was released in which Trump was heard bragging about sexually assaulting women. The tape was from an interview with Billy Bush of Access Hollywood in 2005, and it showed Trump speaking in crude terms about women and describing how he groped and kissed them without their consent. Following the release of the tape, several women came forward to accuse Trump of sexual assault and harassment. Some of these allegations were related to incidences that had occurred years earlier, while others were more recent. Trump has denied all the allegations and has suggested that they are politically motivated. In the wake of the Epstein scandal, there have been renewed allegations of sexual misconduct against Trump. Some have suggested that Trump may have been involved in the sexual exploitation of minors, either directly or indirectly through his relationship with Epstein. However, there's no concrete evidence to support these claims. In July of 2019, Epstein was arrested and charged with federal charges. He was accused of sexually exploiting dozens of underage girls, some as young as 14 years old. Epstein was held at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan while awaiting trial. However, on August 10th, 2019, he was found dead in his jail cell. The official cause of death was listed as a suicide by hanging. The circumstances surrounding Epstein's death have been the subject of intense speculation and controversy. Some have suggested that Epstein may have been murdered in order to prevent him from revealing damaging information about his associates. Others have suggested that Epstein may have been able to commit suicide because of lack of proper supervision at the jail. In the aftermath of Epstein's death, there have been renewed calls for an investigation into his activities and his associates. Some have suggested that the investigation should focus on his relationships with powerful and influential individuals, including Donald Trump. Since Epstein's arrest, there have been several investigations into his activities and his associates. In August 2019, Attorney General William Barr ordered an investigation into Epstein's death. The investigation was conducted by the FBI and the House of the Inspector General, and it concluded that Epstein had committed suicide and that there was no evidence of foul play. In addition to the investigation into Epstein's death, there have been ongoing investigations into his activities and his associates. In January 2020, the U.S. Virgin Islands filed a lawsuit against Epstein's estate, alleging that he had sexually exploited dozens of underage girls on his private island in the Caribbean. The lawsuit also named Ghislaine Maxwell as co-conspirator in the alleged crimes. In July of 2020, Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested on federal charges of enticement of minors, sexual trafficking of minors, and perjury. Maxwell was accused of helping Epstein to recruit and sexually exploit underage girls. She denied it all. The Epstein scandal has brought to light the issue of sexual exploitation of minors, which is a pervasive problem that affects millions of children around the world. It also has raised the important questions about the role of powerful and influential individuals in perpetuating and enabling such crimes. Let's take a look at Bill Clinton and Epstein. We know that they were two peas in a pod and quite fond of each other. The extent of the relationship between Bill Clinton and Epstein is not entirely clear. Sound familiar? These folks are good at hiding their tracks. However, we live in a digital age and it's hard to cover all of them, as Epstein's flight logs show. However, one thing that holds true is this constant denial of ever being on the island. Just like the denial that I did not have sexual relations with that woman. You know, you can be a politician if you fit a couple different standards. And one fundamental standard is being able to evidently lie into the camera. Some reports suggest that Clinton and Epstein first met in '93 when Epstein donated money to a foundation that Clinton had set up to help fund his presidential library. Others suggest that two first met in 2002 when Clinton took a trip on Epstein's private plane known as the Lolita Express to Africa. According to flight records, Clinton took a total of 4 trips on Epstein's plane in 2002, 2003, 2005, and 2006. While some have suggested that these trips were evidence of a close friendship between Clinton and Epstein, others have pointed out that Clinton was not the only high-profile individual to travel on Epstein's plane. The list of passengers on the Lolita Express includes numerous other politicians, business people, and celebrities, many of whom have denied any knowledge of Epstein's criminal activities. Despite this, there were some indications that Clinton and Epstein were more than mere acquaintances. In 2015, in a court filing, Virginia Giuffre One of Epstein's alleged victims claimed that she had been forced to have sex with Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, when she was underage, and that on one occasion she had seen Clinton on Epstein's private island, which was known as Little St. James. According to Geoffrey, Clinton was accompanied by two young girls, and the former president was staying in one of the island's guest villas. Clinton has denied these allegations, and there's no evidence to support Geoffrey's claims. Another indication of a possible relationship between Clinton and Epstein is the fact that Epstein was a major donor to the Clinton Foundation, which was a charitable organization set up by Bill Clinton after he left office. According to the foundation's website, Epstein donated between $1 million and $5 million to the organization over the years, and he was known to have attended several of its events. However, it should be noted that the foundation has never been implicated in any of Epstein's crimes, and there is no evidence to suggest that Clinton or anyone else at the foundation knew about Epstein's illegal activities. Despite the lack of concrete evidence connecting Clinton to Epstein's crimes, some have continued to speculate about the nature of their relationship. Some have suggested that Clinton was somehow involved in Epstein's sex trafficking ring, while others have pointed to the fact that Clinton was known to have flown on Epstein's plane to suggest that he must have known about Epstein's activities, especially when the other passengers on the plane were identified as young girls. What is the clear association between Clinton and Epstein? We don't know 100% of it all. But what is clear is that the association has been damaging to Clinton's reputation. In the wake of Epstein's arrest and subsequent suicide, Clinton was forced to address questions about his relationship with Epstein and to defend himself against allegations of impropriety. Clinton has denied any knowledge of Epstein's criminal activities, and he has emphasized that he took only a handful of trips on Epstein's plane. Well, that's not true, because now we have the flight logs, which shows 25 in total, none of which were to Epstein's private island. Well, that's not true either. We know they went to the Virgin Islands. However, these denials have not put the issue to rest, and the public's interest in the relationship between Epstein and Clinton shows no signs of abating. One reason why the Clinton-Epstein relationship continues to be the subject of speculation is that Epstein himself was a mysterious figure with a vast network of powerful connections. Epstein was known to have cultivated friendships with numerous high-profile individuals, including politicians, business leaders, and celebrities. Some have suggested that Epstein was able to use these connections to protect himself from the consequences of his actions and to continue his criminal behavior long after it should have stopped. It is therefore possible that Clinton's association with Epstein was not just a personal one, but also a reflection of Epstein's larger network of influence. Epstein was known to have been well connected in political circles, and he was said to have been able to use his connections to secure favorable treatment from law enforcement and other authorities. If Clinton was part of this larger network, then it is possible that his association with Epstein was not just a matter of personal friendship, but also a reflection of a larger culture of power and privilege that Epstein was able to exploit. Another factor that's contributed to the speculation about Clinton and Epstein's relationship is the fact that Epstein was known to have kept extensive records of his activities, including a list of contacts that he maintained in his infamous Black Book. This book contained the names and contact information of hundreds of individuals, many of whom were prominent figures in politics, business, and entertainment. Some have suggested that Clinton's name was included in this book, and that this was evidence of a deeper relationship between the two men. However, it's important to note that there's no direct evidence linking Clinton to Epstein's crimes, and there's no proof that Clinton was involved in any wrongdoing. While the association between the two men is certainly troubling, it is understandable that people would want to know more about their relationship, and it's important to avoid jumping to conclusions or making unsupported accusations. At the same time, it is clear that the Epstein scandal has highlighted some deeper issues in our society, including the ways in which power and privilege can be used to protect abusers and to silence victims. Epstein was able to get away with his crimes for so long because of his connections and his wealth, and because of the reluctance of law enforcement officials and other authorities to take action against him. If anything, the Clinton-Epstein relationship is a reminder of the importance of holding those in power accountable and of the need to take allegations of sexual abuse and exploitation seriously, no matter who's involved. Important to note that Epstein's scandal has broader implications for the political and cultural landscape. The revelations about Epstein's crimes and his connections to powerful individuals have fueled debates about issues such as inequality, gender relations, and the nature of power. The fact that so many high-profile individuals were involved with Epstein and that his network was able to operate with relative impunity for so long speaks to the larger structural problems in our society that need to be addressed. The Epstein scandal has highlighted the ways in which wealth and privilege can be used to insulate individuals from consequence from their actions. Epstein was able to secure a lenient plea deal in 2008 in part because of his wealth and connections and because of the reluctance of prosecutors to take on a powerful and well-connected defendant. This is a pattern that has been repeated in many other cases and continues to be repeated within the court system of the U.S. Virgin Islands. It speaks to the need for systemic change to ensure that everyone can find fair justice. An important issue that's been raised by the Epstein scandal is the role of gender in power relations. Epstein's alleged victims were predominantly young women, many of whom were from disadvantaged backgrounds. The fact that Epstein was able to abuse these women for so long without consequences is indicative of larger societal attitudes towards women and the ways in which power dynamics can be used to silence and exploit vulnerable individuals. Epstein's scandals have also raised important questions about the nature of philanthropy and charitable giving. Epstein was known to have made significant donations to a variety of organizations, including the Clinton Foundation, and was often seen as a generous benefactor. However, the revelations about his criminal activities have led to questions about the ethics of accepting donations from wealthy individuals and about the ways in which philanthropy can be used to whitewash reputations and gain influence. The Epstein scandal has also highlighted the importance of investigative journalism and the role of media in holding the powerful accountable. Many of the key revelations about Epstein's crimes and his connections were brought to light by journalists who were willing to dig deep and ask tough questions. Without their work, it's unlikely that the extent of Epstein's criminal behavior and his network of powerful connections would have been exposed. We have Miss Brown at the Miami Herald to thank for breaking this story. Returning to the relationship between Clinton and Epstein, it's clear that this association has had a significant impact on Clinton's legacy and reputation. While Clinton has denied any wrongdoing, and while there's no direct evidence linking him to Epstein's crimes, the fact remains that his association with Epstein is deeply troubling and deeper than Clinton would like to admit. And it raises important questions about Clinton's judgment and character. It's important to note that Clinton has been involved in a number of other scandals throughout his career, including his impeachment in 1998 over his affair with White House intern Monica Lewinsky. These scandals have contributed to a perception of Clinton as a flawed and controversial figure, and they have fueled ongoing debates over his legacy and his place in American history. At the same time, let's acknowledge Clinton's accomplishments as a president. During his 2 terms in office, Clinton presided over a period of relative peace and prosperity. He was able to achieve a number of significant policy victories and include the passage of the North American Free Trade Agreement, or NAFTA. the Family and Medical Leave Act, and the Balanced Budget Act. It's important to continue investigating the Epstein scandal and to hold those who are involved in his network accountable, while also exploring the broader social and cultural issues that this scandal has highlighted. Ultimately, the Epstein scandal should serve as a wake-up call for all of us, reminding us of the importance of holding those in power accountable and the need to work towards a more just and equitable society for all.
This has been Digital Voices with Bo Tiffany, exploring deep stories from real-life guests with real-life experiences, providing insight to our listeners with every story. Stay up to date on future podcasts by bookmarking Digital Voices with Bo Tiffany.podbean.com and follow Bo on social media by searching Digital Voices with Bo Tiffany. Have an idea for a future story? Send your idea to acrmadison@gmail.com. Until next time, grab life by the horns and keep inspiring others.